The Sustainable Development Goals came into force in 2015 after the Millennium Development Goals were phased out. The year 2030 was also set as deadline for the fulfillment of these goals, covering eradication of poverty, achieving quality healthcare, education, peace, infrastructure and industrialization, amongst others. The biggest challenge to achieving these goals has been funding.
The annual budget and releases cannot fund maximally what we are expecting from and what we should do for our people.
At this time,
This gathering is at the instance of the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP, to launch a report about avenues of sustainable funding after a survey undertaken by over 40 financial market experts.
We urge participants to commit to supporting the implementation of the action plans contained in the report so that millions of Nigerians can be lifted out of the thresholds of poverty in line with the tenets of the Sustainable Development Goals.
It was your Environment Minister at the time, Amina Mohammed, who invited us in and asked us whether we might assist. And the first thing that we did was to work on a sovereign green bond. So a bond issue from the government, the federal government of Nigeria, whose purpose was to fund activities compatible with the Sustainable Development Goals.
A UNEP inquiry was carried out in 2014, and that inquiry is closing this year. The UNEP inquiry report says Nigeria needs about $91.9 billion annually, but only gets about $10 billion, which is not even sustainable. This means an increase of about $83.6 billion is required.
So the challenge here is that currently we would need to increase current levels by several orders of magnitude. Is about 10 times less at the moment. So where does that gap come from? If we have about roughly 10 billion flows now towards infrastructure development and we need 90 billion, where does that gap come from? And I feel that generations cutting across the board are all part of the solution, and it will require a real change of trajectory that will involve many stakeholders. Many of the stakeholders are represented here. Many of them are involved in this project.
The deadline, 2030, is only 12 years away. The private and public sectors of Nigeria will have to up the ante using equity and debt documents, including green bonds and grants, through risk mitigation, vast sustainable guarantees, sustainable insurance, and sustainable credit enhancement, amongst others.